Today's edition of the Business in Games podcast is brought to you by the Oceania Esports and Gaming Business Facebook group. Head over there on facebook.com for all of your gaming, business and advice needs. Welcome to episode 001 of Business in Games, also known as the Big Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Mays-Smith. So this podcast, it aims to cover multiple facets of gaming, focusing on the business aspect. I'm using my years in technology and gaming industries to bring in some of the brightest minds in tech, teaching how they approach their platforms, maximize their growth, establish their brands, and plan to execute their business. The Big Podcast aims to cover multiple areas of gaming, focusing on the business aspect and how you can get involved yourself. So today I have with me Bryan B, Mr. Tech City himself. Mate, how are you today?
Yeah, good, brother. Thanks for having me on the show. Coming on in the middle of reviewing a 1080 Ti, the big beast itself, and it's an awesome card at the moment. So really happy with its performance. But other than that, yeah, just a Friday. So I would be working over the weekend. How about yourself?
Yeah, it never stops, man. It never stops. As you know from me working at Corsair, we just launched the Corsair One today, and that's been pretty heckers. Brand new system for Corsair, and meetings, non-stop phone calls, and getting all that stuff set up. But it's an exciting time in tech. You were talking about the 1080 Ti, and the stuff that comes around that is pretty fantastic. But what I really wanted to ask you is, I introduced you as Bryan B from Tech City, but should have I said Tech Yes City? That's the real question.
Maybe you should have. See, this is the thing with the Tech Yes City. I just made that name just randomly when I was thinking of a tech name. Everything was taken, like a Tech City or whatever at the time was taken by another. I think that channel just went under or something. Like there was other names as well, like that were just too cliche. And I just thought, well, I'm always aspiring to be a yes man. So why not just make Tech Yes City? And then when I got back when I came over from Japan to Australia, I thought, it was time for a change to go a bit more professional. But after I changed that, man, it was just so funny. Everyone I knew around me just said, dude, I like Tech Yes City better. I love it better. I even met with Green Hand Gaming. He just said, dude, you got to change it back to Tech Yes City. That's what you are. And I aim now, when I get to 200K subscribers, I will change it back to Tech Yes City, the channel name, officially. The business side of things will remain like Tech City Media Productions. That's my company's name. So we're going to go with officially on the channel. We renamed it Tech Yes City. Bring that yes back. I know everyone I spoke to wants back. And this was the decision I made after I told my friends, because they make up business cards for me. I told them to make us up a Tech City batch, and they just kept ignoring me. And then I said, dude, like, are you going to make some business cards for me? He's like, no. I'm like, oh, why? He's like, because we want the Tech Yes City business cards. I'm like, I just laughed. I was like, oh, right on, it's done. Everyone around me telling me they want it back, so
it's nice to know it's not just a push from your subs, right? I mean, if you look at another tech channel, to introduce what you do, and obviously a lot of people already know, is that you're a tech YouTuber and go through a series of reviewing products and builds and stuff. But if you spend a little bit of time on YouTube on any kind of tech channel, you look at the comments, most of your comments are bring back Tech Yes City. If you're looking at Rocket Jump Ninja, most people say, this is the size of my hand. This is what mouse should I use? Should I buy this mouse, and is this mouse good, and this kind of stuff. But for you, it's just a song of Tech Yes City. It's like you got yourself a drone of people that are just chanting it off in the distance.
It is true. Now, you have to listen to your viewers and subs, because you wouldn't be anywhere without them, right? Even this, whatever Tech Yes City is, man, it would be nothing without the viewers. So I will be listening to them. I want to make it like a 200,000 subscribers special. And when we get there, it's just going to be big. I'll be launching even thinking of launching a new character for satirical purposes on the channel. So
that's good.
It's going to be a heap of fun. So
yeah, that's
looking
pretty
forward
good.
to that.
Yeah, so I mean, we talked a bit off mic, and some other people have been made aware and read some stuff about this podcast in a whole. But I guess to go over it while we're live and to explain it a bit more is that Business in Games, while it's a name, and while I did that introduction and kind of talked about who I am and what I've done, the idea behind Business in Games is to chat with people such as yourself or modders, people who own esports teams, and really get down to a bit of that nitty gritty about business, right? Because I guess I could say quite comfortably, and this isn't telling people that they're dumb or me trying to dumb down things too much, but a lot of people from the mainstream just think that you're just making videos on YouTube for fun, and it takes you maybe an hour to make a video, and then you make $20,000 off getting 10,000 views, and you drive home in your Ferrari laughing. And the idea behind this is to not dumb it down and tell people, no, that's big bad world, it's so hard, but to more explain about what people like you actually have to go through on a day to day, and where you're coming from, where you're going to, and this is a real serious venture, and there's more to it than just making a couple of videos online.
Yeah, it's really hard. Even though I'm at 182,000 subscribers at the moment, it's still very hard. I mean, I'm not making the Lambo cash or anything like that. I'm just struggling. Like, I'm not, someone down at the supermarket's probably making more money than me at the moment. It's not like it's just there's passion. The passion's driving me. I love doing this job. I love tech. I love making videos on it. And it's funny because all the stuff you see on camera, that's the easy part. Doing all the work's the easy part. It's filming the videos, editing the videos, getting them perfect, make sure the audio is balanced, make sure the footage looks good, make sure there's no bumps, make sure there's no mistakes. Uploading it takes ages on Australian internet too. Just everything involved is just so time consuming. It is really time consuming to make good quality content. And I guess some people take that for granted, and they just want, they just demand, and they don't know how much time goes into actually doing this gig. And I mean, I'd love to keep doing it and do pump out videos a lot faster, but I just can't if I want to maintain that quality that's expected of a channel of my size now. So it's a pretty it's a hard gig. It's not, nothing's ever easy, and especially if you're, I guess if you're down in Australia, you don't get favored by YouTube's algorithms. I know a few other Australian YouTubers who we're just slowly growing, and we probably get a lot of our views from search, and then people like the content, they subscribe, as opposed to YouTube pushing out. I guess a lot of the bigger tech channels got pushed out in recommendations.
Yep.
So it's it is hard, it is hard, but you can't complain. You just got to keep on. You just keep doing your thing, and if you enjoy it, which I do, you just keep at it. So
Yeah, exactly.
Probably doing like 14-hour days at the moment, every day. Just don't stop at the moment. So yeah, it is pretty hard, man.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, right. And I mean, touching on that point, and I guess what I could get out of that is that people listening to this for the first time, for new subscribers, it's obviously a more, you could say a more real aspect to the old Bryan B from Tech Yes City, and they're used to seeing the kind of character to your content on the screen. And we're not talking about, you're not a filthy Frank wearing a pink man costume and going around screaming at people like that kind of facade. It is who you are. But what I wanted to touch on, and that some other people have asked me about before, and need explained to them, is the importance of providing a character to your content, providing a face to the name, and not just being tech reviewer number 123 who says this is 1080, it has 11 gigabytes of RAM, this kind of stuff. It's more about, hey guys, this is what the product is, and and this is why it should mean something to you, and this is what I personally think about it, but not everything that I think personally is going to fly. But these are the examples that you can look at for yourself, and providing a bit of that comedy. We've seen your dad making an appearance in a video or two, I think with like the 460 or 570X case from Corsair and things like that. And I wanted to touch on that and what you think about that kind of thing. And obviously there's different horses, different courses, very Aussie saying, I guess, and a few different channels, and some people really want that face up content, but that's not exactly who you are. I'd probably explain you to people more as like the Aussie bloke kind of YouTuber. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah. I agree 100% with that. You've always got to be you. And that's why the Tech City thing's kind of got to me now. I do want to change it back to Tech Yes City, because that's what's just who I am. When I made that name, it was who I am. Being, the larrikin on camera, making mistakes here and there and being a bit clumsy, but also making content that people enjoy. Trying new things, whether I fail or succeed, I'm trying new things, and sort of bringing a new meta to the whole tech scene. The used PC scene's thriving now. People love that. That was I was a big catalyst in that. If I don't want to bloat myself, but I was a huge catalyst with that. And it's great to see so many people have a passion for that now. And now I'm kind of focusing on used and new, because the deals are kind of, especially the deals now in used parts, they're drying up. So I like to get a lot of new parts and mix them in with the used parts, because it makes things easier. Like, you get a used graphics card, which is dime a dozen now, but when you talk about used DDR3, it's actually pretty hard to find. Used hard drive, it's actually pretty hard to find.
Mm.
Used case, you're going to get something that's probably got mayonnaise on it, or barbecue scraps on it. It's like, okay, that's not for everyone. So I've kind of been focusing a
Hey,
bit on
what's
this
wrong with
used.
mayonnaise?
Oh, mayo. Well, yeah, your nickname's Mayo, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, nothing wrong with mayonnaise, but when it's old and filthy in a case, it's
Yeah, I can see
not
what
the
you mean.
best thing. I actually picked up this PC the other day. I've got to film it still, for $50, and I don't know what's been spilled on this thing, man. It looks like someone's just chucked a whole carton of milk on it. Like, it's bad. Like, it's bad, dude. So there's some things that go on that's not for everyone. So now I've kind of shifted this focus on used meets new. That's sort of like a thing going on with the channel at the moment. Still, people are liking it, so definitely bring a different element to the channel. I do want to go on some witch hunting again, where I just like go real in depth with some of those settings, right? Like, what setting makes a difference here? Does this setting affect FPS? Does this setting affect details and quality? I'm going to be doing a few witch hunts in the next month or two. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, you're just constantly enjoying what you do, really. I think that's the main part to YouTube. And yeah, the larrikin side's just going to keep on coming. I mean, lately I've been having some, I guess, battles with my professional versus do I keep the larrikin up? And I've just said to myself, nah, you got to keep enjoying what you do. You got to not worry about what other people think. And if you worry about what other people think, then it's only going to be a waste of time.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
and if you don't
Yeah.
be who you are, then you're not going to show your passion in your videos, right?
And
that's what people love.
yeah, and I mean,
So,
touching on what other people think, and this is something that I'm going to be asking everyone who comes on the show, basically, because this is a big thing that happens in Australia specifically, and you find the cultural difference with it's become quite obvious now that most tech brands are managed out of their Taiwanese businesses or the US businesses. They're not Australian businesses, right? And one thing that we find a lot here with esports, with influencers, content creators such as yourself or tech reviewers, both traditional and online, is the whole thing about selling out, right? And that's what we were chatting about, the larrikin thing, and that's about you've just picked up a sponsorship with Corsair recently as well, and you've announced that in some of your videos and been quite clear cut about that kind of stuff and what's going on. Do you have a couple of a bit of 2 cents to throw in about what your experience is with that stuff? Because it's something that I find happens a lot more, maybe because we're based in Australia, but we find that happens a lot more in Australia than, say, even other Western nations like America and the UK, is that people are very hypersensitive about selling out.
yeah, it depends. Like, what constitutes the word sellout, in your opinion, is if you are now controlled by the company that you're getting money from.
Yeah.
That's what in my definition of a sellout is. Taking a sponsorship's a different thing. Now, I've tried like a few different Corsair products. I've loved every Corsair product that comes through. I wasn't a big fan of the 460X, and I did point that out in my review. And as long as you're not being you're not being censored on what you can say. So I can say, I love the 570X. I thought that was an amazing case. I'm using it on my benchmark rig now, but like I wasn't a big fan of the 460X. So as long as you can say that and not, for instance, have the sponsor breathing down your neck, like, don't say that, like, you can't say that, then that's when you do start to become a sellout, right? That's when you do start to be a sellout. But I love Corsair's products. I believe in them. Same with ASRock. I love their motherboards. Absolutely love their motherboards. If they came and offered me a sponsorship, I'd probably take that too, because I've had nothing but bliss with their products overall. They're great people to deal with. Same with you guys, of course.
People like the word shill, right? It's a Reddit thing, from what I can tell. It's come out of there, and throwing in some of my experience in there, working, I guess, on, I'd say sometimes all three sides of the fence, as someone sponsoring or someone running contracts and stuff. As long as you're upfront about it, most people will be okay. I mentioned Rocket Jump Ninja before and some other stuff, and he had an issue that he outlined on one of his YouTube videos in a comment, as well as on his Twitter, just talking about people selling out, and he runs his channel a little bit differently to you, in the fact that you'd say maybe he's a bit more technical and measuring your hand and lift off distance and stuff, but he said some very similar things, and it's just not worth it for him to sell out. Most of his videos, he says he's been playing Quake for 18 years, so why would he suggest a product to someone that isn't that isn't suitable to his needs? And people know I work at Corsair, and he's not always the biggest fan of Corsair mice either, so it's not like I'm being a shill on the other side, I guess, and only talking to someone I sponsor, which is Corsair sponsors you and that kind of stuff. But do you think that maybe the sellout thing is just, do you think it's the users being worried that they're going to be told some that their champion or the person they trust to get the news from is being paid from the top to tell them things that aren't quite true? Like, do you think it's founded? Because I guess what we're talking about right now is kind of like, oh, you can't call people a seller, that's dumb. But the reality is that some people are. So how do the users differentiate that? Do you think that being really obvious about your content and saying, hi, yes, this video is sponsored, say like what Linus does at the start, like a pre-roll?
Yeah, as long as you're transparent about a lot of the things that you do, I mean, it's going to be fine. I mean, there are cases of YouTubers, especially in the gaming, like the actual video games, the guys who do whatever video game
Let's
X.
plays, Minecraft Let's Plays.
Yeah. There's a lot of like actual legit selling out going on there. That's I know that there's been heaps of cases that have been actually backed up with empirical evidence. Like this guy found documents or whatever. Like, and that's it. I don't think it affects the tech scene that much. I mean, if it does, it quickly gets pointed out with like fake results or whatever. So people are quick to switch on to that, whether they're actually. But I doubt any companies in that sense would directly pay someone. Like AMD wouldn't directly pay, or Intel wouldn't directly pay someone to, especially a YouTuber, to fudge results. I doubt that would happen. I mean, if Intel or AMD got caught doing that, the backlash for them would be so huge anyway.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
I think in the tech scene that the sellout thing isn't so much as opposed to maybe someone getting a lot of products for free and being super happy about it and then just giving a completely biased review. I mean, yeah, whichever way you want to look at it. But I mean, all I can say from my point is that I don't do that. I love giving my viewers just a straight up, honest opinion. Like, just here it is, guys. Here's the product. Here's what's good about it. This could use a little bit of work. Okay, and it's this price.
Yeah, and I think coming from the other side too, being employed to a company myself like Corsair and sponsoring some channels, if I got caught doing that internally, I would not have a job anymore. So
exactly right.
there's the pressure to, and it's good pressure. It's not bad pressure. It's not like I've got them breathing down my neck, or I didn't have that when I worked at Thermaltake or things like that too. People breathing down my neck, like, is he wasting our money on people doing Minecraft Let's Plays, telling stuff, and nothing against Minecraft Let's Plays. That's just the meme right now to make fun of, talk about Minecraft Let's Plays because they're the first guys that really made it big, but. It's not going to happen on either side and that kind of stuff. Yeah, but and touching on some of that, and I was talking about different types of media before, and I used to do a bit of writing for Tweaktown, a US kind of centric company who's a lot of their writers are based out of Australia. Say Anthony Greffa, who does a lot of their video card stuff, for example, and Cam Wilmot, the man behind the steering wheel or the gears or whatever you want to describe it as. But how do you find personally the main difference between quote unquote traditional media and the new media of YouTube techies? And I'm one of the reasons I'm really asking is to see how it might differ on your side compared to some of my experience before, because I haven't been a tech YouTuber. I've done a little bit of tech writing and dabbled and given out PR samples to tech people and stuff. But do you reckon you have kind of a summary in your head ready to go for something like that?
Okay, yeah, okay. Well, YouTube gets a bad name because there's a lot of like just complete, really small channels that suddenly get boosted on the algorithm, and so their results are completely fake or whatever. And so that, I guess, that gives the whole of YouTube a bad name in ways. And so as a website, right? If there's a website that's getting 10 views a month or whatever, it's just a complete. No one's heard about this website, and they're posting fake reviews. No one's gonna hear about them. No one's gonna push that website. So you can see like websites don't really get a bad name, I guess. Traditional media doesn't get a bad name because there's no name or no people who have no credibility getting pushed. As opposed to YouTube, there can be that happening like that. You can see that when sometimes these people with like 0 subscribers get a video with like 100,000 views, and you're like, okay, what's going on here? And then they're pushing out fake results or it's inaccurate results, and people on forums just laugh at that. So there is a bit of that going with YouTube, but as opposed to the big YouTubers on YouTube, like I look at their results. We cross-reference results with each other. Like for instance, me and Steve from Hardware Unbox are always cross-referencing results because we got 2 different systems, or just want to test the same system to make sure our results are right and we're not scratching our heads. We do that with a lot of other YouTubers, sort of just and it all checks out. Like a lot of the big guys that I cross-reference with, it all checks out. So there's really, I guess in the big YouTube scene, there really is people want to continue that long-term relationship. And I guess at the end of the day, it's that short-term versus long-term. And even for businesses, they have to take the long-term approach if they want to be in the game for a long time. There's a lot of companies that just do the short-term sell out, and that damages your credibility. It damages who you are as a tech reviewer
Yeah.
or
And
whatever company you're in.
do you find that being with the YouTube kind of hurts legitimacy? You know, you were chatting before about business cards, right? And if someone approaches you, or say even approaches me in a sponsor aspect at a at an event, and this is something that must be learned because you're not born with this. But if they don't have a business card or they don't have a website, usually that impacts negatively on their ability to be a business. And in the end, business cards mean nothing. You know, when I was self-employed, it cost me $50 to get a packet of 3 billion of them from Vistaprint, and I paid a mate $40 to do the design that he did in a day, and I got that printed and I had them within a week. So in reality, they don't really mean much. You know, you can buy a template off off Theme Forest and make up your own website in 2 seconds and things like that. But do you find that the negative connotations of YouTube follow you around when you're trying to talk to some of these people as well? And do you think other YouTubers get the same?
They do, yeah. I mean, you're going to have haters, I guess. Then it's going to be more noticeable on YouTube as opposed, YouTube does have the good option of hiding the user, potentially banning the user from your channel, which is great. I hope they don't ever take that option away. So, I mean, yeah, you've got to deal with hate, I guess, on a constant basis if you look at it that way. If you're a YouTuber, you automatically get discredited too. I guess that's something that goes on around there.
Mm. Yeah, and that's more what I'm touching on. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you just keep on doing what you're doing. I mean, the audience has an open mind. Like the majority of my subscribers are 25 to 34 years old. In other words, they're mature, right? A lot of them are mature. It's not to say a lot more young people are mature, but there are a lot of younger people who are mature. I guess they're subscribed too. But at the end of the day, the majority of my audience is that 25 to 34 bracket. And, they've got an open mind. They can think for themselves. They can see the numbers. They can match it up with their own computer, do their own testing and say, this works out. There's no BS going on here. I trust this guy. Bang. You've just got yourself someone who knows that you're not talking BS. They trust you. They subscribe to you. So, at the end of the day, you just keep doing what you're doing. And if you're doing the honest thing, people are going to see that. And they're going to, over time, they're going to trust you. And they're going to gain credibility towards you. So, yeah.
Yeah, cool.
There's always going to be ups and downs, but that just happens.
Of course, that always happens. Yeah. So, I mean, we chatted before as well about some of the various issues and that, making YouTube videos on YouTube isn't just about publishing the video, walking away and you're done until you just decide to do the next one. That, it might be true for some industries because, other industries besides tech, there's, as the business side of things, there's high profit margins and you're likely to get boosted up in the YouTube algorithm. And, taking makeup, for example, my girlfriend is a big fan of beauty YouTubers and learns a lot off them and that kind of stuff. But, they're much more favored by the YouTube algorithm and that kind of stuff. So what I want to learn a little bit about it and kind of, show off to the viewers a little bit about some of the, I guess, how, in technical terms, how you diversify your portfolio, right? And the idea behind this is it's not just YouTube views. You're relying on different things. You're relying on company contacts. Are you relying on selling Tech Yes City shirts? And how do you plan out for that kind of stuff?
Yeah, that's something I'm still working on, man. Especially the business relations. That's a good one. I mean, you just got to be nice and get along with people at the companies. Be honest up front with them. I mean, I'm always upfront with, for instance, creative. For instance, they sent me a webcam, and it was having problems. And I told them, like, look, guys, you can't release this. It's having these problems. I showed them a video unlisted, and they didn't release the product to market, which was really good. So that's kind of like the relationships you develop. And ever since that, they've been really grateful, because they know if they released that product, they would have had just huge amount of harm. It would have just cost them a brand reputation, this and that. So you just deal with companies and it's, you get along with them and you just be honest with them. They be honest with you. And that's sort of like the relationships you've established. And I don't know, I love just working with people now. Like I'm actually building up in the last 6 months, more contacts than I've ever built up in this industry. That's because you just get along with the person at the company as well. Like how you get a bit more personal, I guess. I guess that's how I am. I'm more of a personal guy. And so I like to get along with whoever I'm working with on a personal level. Like,
yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I guess it's that integrity thing. And so each their own. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people who are different maybe in the bigger game or whatever, but that's just how I am, man. I like to be a people's person. And it's really good getting into the whole, but in terms of diversifying the business and shirts and stuff, man, I'm pretty hopeless with that, to be honest. I've just launched the website. We just launched the website. It's going really well. I've got to get some new shirt designs make up. I want to make it a bang sort of thing on the channel where, I can actually make people want to purchase a shirt that looks good. So that's something I'm working on. Graphics
Exactly. Yeah.
design
Yeah.
stuff. So.
And there's always that issue of begging for money from your subs compared to actually providing some legitimate content. And this is
Yeah.
going off on a tangent. I have a friend who owns a meme Facebook page with hundreds of thousands of likes, and he came to me once and said, me and the other admins want to make some money and stuff, but we have no idea. We're thinking about selling shirts. And it's like, well, does someone really want to wear a shirt with Rage Face on it in public, or with like a picture of Harambe and stuff? Like, as funny as it is and how much you share, you want to add some stuff, right? Patreon's a great tool, but if you're not using it for a proper benefit, you come across as you come across as more that begging for money thing. And it makes sense that you want to make money out of this, because we're talking about the amount of time, and you were talking about the amount of time that it takes to do this kind of stuff. And, the importance of turning off ad block, everyone talks about that. And a lot of websites, traditional tech, like, I can't think of any off the top of my head, but, they're putting on ad block blockers and things like that, which is, one way to combat it and to make some extra revenue streams. And, there's sponsorships that we've chatted about and stuff too. But, that's a big thing from my end as a consumer as well as a sponsor, that, it's hard for you guys to do that kind of stuff, in the fact that you need this amount of time and you need the amount of time to make videos that people like, but you need to be able to pay your rent as well. It's really a full-time, it's an all-in thing, right? You're not just doing this after your year 9 classes when you go home. You've got yourself thousands of dollars worth of microphones and cameras and lenses, and you're dealing with multi-million-dollar companies that are sending you products, but you've got that lack of support. And you could say professionalism, but it's not really. It's that lack of professional support due to you not being a large business with the corporate structure. It's just you. And when I was reviewing products myself at Tweaktown, lovely company with lots of support, and always pay their staff on time and competitively, which is brilliant to them, because they're working with lots of freelancers and people all around. But you still look at a company like that compared to, say, Next Media in Australia, who have offices, and all of the products, they're coming to a house. You have to be there to sign for them, right? You think about that very base logistic thing. Where are you going to put the products? Are they going to get stolen? Are you putting them in a shed that doesn't have a lock at the back? And you've got, say, right now, whoever's listening to this, I've probably got 15 grand worth of tech at my house, and I've had to install extra locks and stuff because I'm worried that people are going to break in. But you don't necessarily have those assurances as a single YouTuber, running a tech channel, but you're expected to do the same amount of content. And it's not bad to be expected to do good content, is it? It's just that income stream and that professional support. Do you find is that something you've ever thought about before? Or am I just thinking way too much about stuff? Or
no, you touch on everyday issues, man. Like, that's everyday issues that, again, like, people, I guess the average viewer just wouldn't maybe even think about. It is a hard gig. It's not an easy gig at the end of the day. I just keep doing it because I love it. I love working with hardware. I guess I always have since I was 14 years old. In terms of getting, oh man, it's ripe in Australia. People break B&Es, in Australia. Jeez. So,
and I mean, it's testament, and we've talked so much about what's hard, right? So let's line it up a little bit. But I guess the reason that we're saying this to anybody listening is the fact that there's some real issues that are faced here, but it's you and I aren't the senseis. We're not Gandhis. We haven't been around and done everything, but we've learned a lot, and we've had thousands of hours of trial and error, and losing small, medium, large stakes of money and moving houses and signing contracts and all this kind of stuff. And we've really had to learn by the seat of our pants and ask people for info. And that's why we're having these kind of chats. So hopefully someone out there who's thinking, I want to start a YouTube channel, like, don't think that we're trying to talk down and be like, it's so hard, you can't start, there's no way. There's there's hundreds of smaller YouTube channels out there for a reason that make varying degrees of okay to bloody awesome content. But we're just trying to share some of this stuff about this is some stuff that we've gone through that maybe you should keep in mind. And most of these stuff, they're all overcomable, right? I mean, you can get past them all. And we're not talking about you don't have $3 million of investors behind you. At least I don't think you do. And you can start from nothing, which is great about this industry, because how many other industries can you start from nothing? Can you just be like, I'm going to go sell cars. I'm going to start by selling my brother's car. You can't do that, but you can say, hey, I'm going to start making YouTube videos. I've got an iPhone 7, 6, whatever that can shoot in 4K. I'm going to go buy a $30 tripod off eBay, a $20 camera, I mean a $20 microphone, and you can actually make some decent B-roll just with that. And you can upload a video, you can get your first 100, first 1,000 subscribers and go from there.
That's true. Yeah, where there's a will, there's a way, especially in YouTube. My advice to new YouTubers would be to get make a burn channel where you just practice. You just really get your practice, like, and then look at it from a third person perspective. Don't give your videos bias because it's just you making the videos. And that's when I started to grow. When I looked at my videos and said, all right, that sucks. I got to change that. I got to change that. That was cringy. Cut that out. That's when I started growing. Like when I really started looking at my channel from more of a third person perspective. So if you want to get into the game of YouTube, my advice would be to make a burn channel, get some practice, and then hit it hard from the very first video. It was actually interesting. There was another YouTuber I know, another YouTuber in tech called Aussie Talks Hardware, I believe. He's got a great channel. I love the guy. Awesome. He actually redid his channel. Like he had an old channel where he did a heap of videos, and then he restarted, rebooted the whole channel. And he's been doing really well since he did that, like extremely well. So yeah, that's an example. My recommendation for people getting into it would be to start a burn channel, just do some practice, get the video looking right, get it looking, and essentially just copy the bigger channels. You know what I mean? Copy how they do things, just a copy paste, and then put yourself into that video.
Yeah,
and then make it to you.
You know, and it doesn't hurt to follow someone else's structure. You know, talking about plagiarism and stuff, it's a bit different in YouTube than it is compared to, you know, than it is compared to, say, writing. Because, you know, not to dumb it down too much, but a lot of YouTube reviews are set out the same. You know, is there, all right, here's an intro, bit of B-roll. Here's the specs with a bit of B-roll. Here's a picture of the box and what it looks like. Here it is out of the box, a bit of B-roll. You know, it's a very structured process, and that's good and not dumb. That's good because you have something to follow, right? And you shouldn't be worried about, you know, following a bit of what some other people have done. And, you know, touching on that, you know, I've got a dot point here is where to begin when looking at filming and microphones for newbies. You know, I mentioned that you can do some stuff with just a phone, and I've done some live streaming at events and things before with the Galaxy, you know, S7 Edge hanging off a $3 Taiwan tech store, you know, holder and a $20 JB Hi-Fi tripod and things like that. You know, you can get away with some of that stuff, but, you know, what would you suggest coming from the side of, you know, someone who's tried a few different cameras and microphones and things?
Where do we begin? Yeah, it depends on your budget, depends how serious you are about it, but I would suggest, starting, if your phone's got a really good camera, definitely start there with a cheap bang-up tripod to hold it still. Get a cheap lav mic that plugs into a smartphone. There's plenty of them out there. Say a good one around $20, and then just start recording from there. Because I tell you what, the ADCs or the audio digital converters in the phones are actually really damn good. So that's a good starting point for beginners. If you want to step things up, get a DSLR and some lens. I think the Yongnuo off eBay, like $50 lens. Get that with a Canon body. Such a cheap combo. You'll get some gorgeous B-roll out of that thing for what its price range is. Of course, you can step it up again with plugging a lav mic into that. And at the moment, I'm just using I got my Sony 4K for vlogging and my Panasonic G7 with two different lenses that I use on a Sony tripod. I've got another tripod coming in very soon, so that's sort of like my step up. The next step up I did do, if I was to do one, would be like a 4K full frame sensor, which I'm actually still in the market to look at what a good one is. Like Sony have one, but the problem is it doesn't have a flip out screen. Really don't like that. Like I love getting feedback while you're recording, right? So I really didn't like how the Sony 4K camera didn't have the flip out screen. But yeah, just what you're spending, I guess. And there's always, you can go on like my forum, even if you've got questions about what gear you want to get and what your budget is, just drop a techcity.tv/forum. Sorry to plug myself, but there's places that you can go to ask questions, and we'll give you guys answers to whatever budget you have. So always welcome to help.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, touching on that point as well is, it's probably my favorite thing to say this podcast, touching on that point. I sound like some kind of bad news journalist, but talking about that stuff and it's kind of a two-pronged question. What do you find the support is for Aussie YouTubers within a community compared to, say, the US and stuff? Do you think that people like Linus and Jay's 2 cents are sitting down having beers together chatting about what content, or thinking about doing podcasts or vodcasts together? And how do you find the difference in Australia compared to those other guys? And say if someone wants to come And the second part of that question is, say if someone does want to come, you know, is there any kind of coaching academy or support options for these kind of guys?
Like coaching and you doing YouTube videos?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, I wouldn't even know where to begin, man. I've taught myself everything, like everything from start to scratch. Like you just teach yourself, and I guess you are your best teacher. I guess that rings true with anything. You know, this is the thing with microphones, right? Let's give an example with microphones. Every microphone sounds different brand of microphones with different capsules that all have their different characteristics. Now, which one's the best? It's the one that sounds best with your voice. So you can see, like, that's what it comes down to. You know, someone will say the Sennheiser microphone will sound better than the Audio Technica, and then someone will say the Audio Technica sounds better than Sennheiser. But what it really comes to is it sounds better in their opinion for their voice. So again, with that, do whatever you think is good. Like if you've got a camera and you think that B-roll's awesome, like try to be objective about it. But if you've got a camera and you've got a microphone and you just think it sounds awesome, then it probably is awesome if you're looking at it from an objective point of view. Use your ears, use your eyes, and trust yourself. And that, from going forward, like I learned that early in the game. I was like, this person has their opinion and I kind of disagree with it. So I'm going to make my video and do this thing this way. And, you know, a lot of people respected that. And they said, wow, that was my first video, you know, the Razer or business review or something. Like, that's how I got into YouTube. I was looking up I couldn't find like a proper review. I just saw all these overviews where just people were fanboying this mouse. And I got that and the G3, which was unpopular.
Yeah.
And I just loved the G3 over the Razer business. And I was a bit of a Razer fanboy too. And I just loved the G3 that much more.
Yeah.
And so I made a review on that, you know, and then a lot of people liked that. They're like, yeah, this guy's got a point. So it was really cool, you know, even though I filmed that on a complete potato, and back you could get away with that back in 2000, you know, whatever.
2000 whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah.
But yeah, that's just how it began, I guess. So ever since then, it's just, you know, I don't know, just
Yeah. So
fun journey.
So you mentioned unboxings, right? And there's a difference between an unboxing and a review, and this is, you know, this is something that I've come across a lot with people that don't know a lot about YouTube and haven't listened to the big podcast or, you know, chatted to people such as us or been able to do a lot of market research or even know where to begin to do a lot of market research is unboxings, right? Everybody, you know, most YouTubers seem to love posting unboxings, but no one necessarily likes to watch them. And the companies that are sponsoring don't like to give out products and will often honestly look down on channels who focus purely on unboxings if they're promising to be a tech channel. What do you find about unboxings compared to others? Because everybody has a different opinion. It's like not the hidden agenda, and I can't even think of what the word would be for that, but it's like the real, you know, it's one of those hidden Easter eggs within tech and YouTubing is the thing of unboxings. You can ask anyone, what do you think about unboxings? And they'll talk to you over 7 beers for 4.5 hours about it.
Yeah, my thing on unboxing, I just don't watch unboxings. It's like you're getting no real value added except seeing what's in the box, which I'm pretty sure the website will tell you that in one page. So that's kind of like, that's for me, unboxings aren't really a big thing. It depends on who you are. And, you know, some people love watching that person just take stuff out of a box and show the product. I mean, some people love that. So it's each to their own, I guess. Yeah, I tell you now, if I could get away with doing every video an unboxing, I would. You know, jeez, it's just taking 1 hour to film, 1 hour to edit. Ugh,
tech unboxing city. You've heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah,
on the big podcast. My name's Chris Smith. That's it for today. See you later. We're done. But yeah. No,
pretty much, yeah. Like that's it. Yeah, guys, welcome to the podcast. I'll see you later. That's I mean, I don't know. So that's sort of like with me, the unboxing thing. I've done it. I guess if I've really been excited about a product, I've just got it in and I want to show people more of an overview. Overviews are pretty good. Like if you're just showing people what it's actually got and going into detail on what it's actually got and how that could benefit them.
And I mean,
that's kind of, you know, detailed overviews are pretty cool.
You know, and this is probably a talking point for us as well, is that, you know, print media these days gets a bad rap quite often, especially when they cross-post their print stuff to online. And, you know, some of it might be justified and some of it isn't so much in the fact that people don't necessarily understand the limitations. But one thing that I actually quite like that Next Media does across PC Power Play and PC Tech Authority, who are both print and like predominantly print but also online, is the 1-minute reviews. And I actually quite like them, and that's something that a modder, Corey, I'm Face Roll modding, has done as well. He's done 1-minute reviews of products, which is literally 59 seconds, you know, after the after the little bit of an intro, 59 seconds of a quick overview on the product. And, it really just teaches people, this is what the product, this is what you should care about. Here's my quick thoughts, the end. And, then you post a full review after that. What do you think about that idea?
I just think it's in ways. I know some people will love it. I know I'd love a 1 minute review too. It's just YouTube hates it. That's the thing, right? YouTube's algorithm hates 1 minute videos. They're going to go nowhere ever. Like, that's the sad thing about the 1 minute reviews. If it's a 1 minute, kangaroo punching a guy or something, yeah, that'll blow up. But but in terms of 1 minute reviews, it's just YouTube really hates that. Yeah. And they won't push those videos. So for me, I would rarely ever do a 1 minute video. It's just, it's like, just put that extra time into the actual review, like the full review. And as much as I love it, I love 1 minute reviews. It's just me being a YouTuber and doing YouTube videos. I just know it would be a waste of time for my channel, and growing my little baby. So,
yeah. And it's about finding that balance, right? It's, I guess you've got that interesting thing and pretty much anyone in the world has this, no matter what industry you work in, but people mightn't have it in the forefront of their mind that, as a tech YouTuber, you have this interesting thing of battling this beast of your subscribers, of getting new subscribers, of the companies that are giving you the products, and of YouTube as well. And you're trying to balance these 4+ things at once and while injecting your personal love in there and, creating a name for yourself and that stuff. Do you find that's do you find that and planning out what videos you're going to do and things kind of a daunting process, or do you find that it's really just part of the gig and it's something that you streamline? It's like riding a bike.
It depends, man. Like, for some reason, it depends on who you are. Me, I'm just a straight shooter, one thing at a time. Like, I make a list, and if I do that and I have one video I got to do it at a time, I do really well. But like, for instance, now I've got so much on my plate, and it actually slows me down. Like, if I've got to do this video all at the same time, it just slows me down. It's so, yeah. Oh man, yeah. It is a daunting challenge.
You're getting nervous thinking about it. Yeah. And I've been there too. Being the audio editor for Tweaktown, I think when I put in my notice that I was heading over to the dark side to a company, I think I had 23 reviews to complete in 1 month, and these were written, so you can kind of smash them out, but you still have that testing process. And as written, you have that issue of the language has to be right, because people on the internet hate things that are spelt wrong, and God forbid if you forget, like you type the wrong your, or you put an extra a in a word or something like that. So you've got that issue of trying to do that, and taking on too much is something that I think everyone's done. Most of the YouTubers I talk to have said, I really want to review this product because it's amazing, but I just can't. I have 400 USB charges that I've accepted for some reason I don't know, but I don't want to burn these contacts, and I have to get them out, and I don't know how I'm going to do it. This is what the 1,000-degree hot knife going through 1,000 charges. I don't know.
1,000. That's your review here, guys. How does a 1,000-degree hot butter knife go through this graphics card?
Yeah, will it blend? Will it blend? Exactly. Yeah. So going back to what we've said, what's the end goal here? Is there an end goal? Is there an end to YouTube? Will YouTube ever end?
For me, it's a goal to grow it to a stage where I've got like a 3 or 4 man gang, and we're doing videos as a team. Like, my dad's always told me he works best in a 3 or 4 man gang, and I'm the same.
Yeah.
All my friends who have successful businesses, it's funny, they all work really well in a small 3-4 man gang where they can trust everyone. And that's kind of like my end goal, is to probably get someone on board, help make videos and content, then get someone else on board, and then see where we go. See if we keep growing, see if people love the new content, see if it gets pushed out faster. Seeing, just that's the end goal for me. It's just having this successful little 3 or 4 man gang.
Yep.
And we're just pumping out content that's just really good. And people love it. So,
and providing some back end to that. Linus travels with a 4-man gang, or at least he did when he came to Computex last year, when I was chatting with him a little bit and watching him do some stuff on the booth and things like that too. And I'd 100% agree. And talking about Taiwan and stuff, there's some travel possibly coming up for you, and it's unannounced, and it might be announced for a little bit and that stuff. But how do you manage that relationship with trying to travel? Because it's obvious that all content creators, when you're on a plane, you're not making videos. So how do you offset that?
Oh, you have to schedule. Yeah, you have to work your ass off and do all-nighters before that. Schedule out a few videos. And so yeah, that's what I mean. It's a tough gig at the end of the day because you got to learn to balance your whole channel out where you're releasing a video at least every 3 days, or you know what I mean. So it is a hard process, and it's one you just got to get your head around. And lately I've got stuck into the benchmarking, which is probably my like it's a strong and weak point. Strong point in that I know exactly what I'm doing. I can benchmark everything in like a half a day or a day.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem for me with benchmarking is, for example, I've got to put all these numbers in graphs, make the graphs, make sure they're fine, make sure the numbers aren't incorrect, drop them in a video. Like it just takes so long, just the actual process of putting the numbers into data and. So
Getting you
there's a lot of
stressed
headaches
again.
in it. Yeah, you get
You
stressed
stressed.
again. So it's funny. It's just a cycle where like every time I seem to be just getting on that smooth flow where I actually work the fastest when I'm on that smooth flow, I then get sent like a ton of products. So like review this brand, review this brand, review that. It's like from 5 different angles. Like oh crap,
Yeah.
And I just got asked from Galax to review a GTX 1070. It's like oh well. Of course, I want to take it on. I'm a smaller channel. Like, I'd love to take that on and establish a great relationship. But where do I get the time to fit in this 1070 review? Like, where?
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know,
it doesn't help when that when that asshole Chris is throwing all his products at you to review it. So
yeah. Oh man, yeah, we're getting through that. We're gonna get the DDR4 RGB memory review done pretty soon.
yes,
I just got to get this 1080 Ti review done ASAP, and then that's next on the list. Like, I've actually got to get it done tonight, hopefully.
Yeah.
So the
that'd be
DDR4
great.
memory is coming very soon. Yeah, the RGB stuff. It looks gorgeous though. I must say, it looks really good. It adds that extra flavor to your build. That's for sure.
And you know, and like what you were saying, that's really business these days, isn't it? You know, I've been telling people, you know, everyone's common reply these days is how are good but quite busy. But it's a serious thing when you're trying to grow this kind of stuff. You know, I'm the only employee for Corsair in Australia. I am the only employee. So, you know, we have sales that are handled by a very, very good sales team. And that's not just me talking up the company. Like they're brilliant, and that's part of the reason why I work here, because the support is so good. But, you know, it's the same as what I was saying for you before. If I want some products to come in for an event, I have to be here to accept them from a courier. Otherwise, a courier came to me once, right? Here's a good story. A courier came to me once and they left stuff in the recycling bin. And then a courier came the next day and they were like, "Oh, did you know did you get that missed card from a courier that came yesterday?" I was like, "No." And he's like, "Oh, he left the stuff in the recycling bin." And it was the day before bin day as well. And I was like, "What the?" It was
Wow.
It was about $600 worth of RAM and SSDs sitting in the recycling bin. So,
Jesus, yeah.
you know, that's the small town struggles of Australia that you get, but it's all part of business these days, right? So,
Yeah, I've got a story on that. I do have a story on that.
Here we go, yeah.
I think it was the FedEx guy. He's just like, I think it was, no, UPS, one of the two, but he's like, he comes up to the door and he's like, "Oh, can I start leaving your stuff at the door?" I'm like, "No way, man. Just knock. Like, you got to knock, because you leave something at the front door in Australia, man, it'll be gone in 2 hours." Someone driving past, "Oh, what's that? That's a box. Ting, gone." So like, yeah, like I don't know. Like, I want to sign for stuff. If not, I want to go pick it up from the depot to make sure it's fine. You know, make sure I get my hands on it guaranteed. So yeah, it's funny that. Yeah, so
Yeah,
there's lots of little things, man.
good old
You're
mates
right.
Ozpost and Pack and Send know my name quite
Yeah.
well now. After sending around the Bulldog 2.0 that you reviewed in that gigantic
Oh.
Pelican case,
Jeez,
they know
man,
me
that
quite
thing.
well. Yeah. Thank the banks for credit card points. They've done something definitely right today.
That thing was huge, dude. That thing was. I think you could fit a human being in that thing, eh?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we chat a lot about you know, looking at other YouTubers and comparing your content and comparing your stats and things like that. If you were to suggest to me a couple of YouTube channels for people to go to for various different reasons to check out, and this is very much putting you on the spot here. If you were to categorize a couple of different YouTube channels, let's say maybe 2 local and 1 international for different reasons, what would they be and who would they go to? So, you know, we talked about you being kind of the larrikin Aussie guy who focuses a lot on old versus new content. You know, if you were to suggest to me 2 locals and 1 international YouTuber for, you know, what the flavor of the channel is, who would they be?
Well, I can suggest a few locals. I mean, there's guys I've been lurking in, like, of course, Hardware Unboxed Steve. He comes first to mind. He's like the Ferrari of benchmarking. You know what I mean? That guy is a machine, and I know this because I see how he showed me his Excel spreadsheets. He shows me how he does things. Like when it comes to benchmarking products, that guy is just on point. I've never seen someone that good. He's got like 3 different rigs set up for benchmarking, or at least 2 that I know of. But he just changes the cards, bang, 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 like a machine, just dropping these results into, you know, numbers that change up and then put it into the graph. Like he's got his whole process is automated for getting the benchmarks out, and you can just see that he's so good at benchmarking by the amount of benchmarks he does and how he presents them. This guy is the benchmarking king. So whenever I need benchmarks, I go to Steve from Hardware and Box. If I haven't reviewed the product myself, or if I need to cross-reference benchmarks, he's the guy I go to, man. And I'm really good friends with him behind the scenes as well. Guy's awesome to deal with. Like I love him behind the scenes. Great guy. You got Kev from Kev Tech Showdown. He's on my weekly podcast, Tech Lounge. He's a great guy. He approached me after we broke up Tech Gaming Weekly, and he just said, like, do you need a new co-host? I'm like, yeah, brother. Like, because he's in the same time zone as well. It's like it worked out great. So we've had a few ups and downs with audio over the time, but once I get new Australian internet, the NBN stuff, once I get on that should all be fixed up, hopefully. So
I mean, not copper. What is this?
Yeah, I know it's bad, man. But we've got then you've got like I've been watching behind the scenes. Singularity Computers, absolutely amazing at doing custom builds. Then you got Greenhand Gaming, who just makes nostalgic, awesome videos. So there are a lot of guys in the scene. You got Rocket Jump Ninja, who does the peripheral reviews, who are exceptional at them. So there's they're the local guys that I do like and stumble upon their channels sometimes when I got a bit of free time. I don't get a lot of free time to watch these videos, so making my own videos. But international, we're talking. I do visit Jay's 2 cents a lot. I like his he just lays it out in layman terms a lot of the times. His thing, what's this like for the end user? I really do.
He's the American Bryan Tech City, I'd say.
Oh, maybe not. He's much more professional, I'd say. He's much more professional. He's very professional, Jay, I'd say. Like I slip up. I curse here and there sometimes, or not actually. If I do beep out cursing if I want to put it on the channel, but like I do some things that are very unorthodox. I guess Jay's very orthodox in some of the things he does. I'm very unorthodox, and so he'd be the more professional in that regard. So, but he's a great guy. I've watched a lot of his content for a long time, and so that's probably one international tech tuber that I do watch a lot of, and I do see he's gone through a lot of struggles as being a YouTuber, but it's all paid off because he'll be like 1 million subs soon. So there are some big YouTubers I follow. Paul's Hardware as well. Really love his content. Really a big fan of his content too. So
exactly. And you're chatting just about the problems with being a YouTuber, and we've talked about that a bit. And I wanted to quickly chat about as well that the difference between the big ones and all of the people that are kind of sitting in the middle ground and the bottom 25% is something that a lot of companies and a lot of people, even myself, I don't think about it a lot necessarily, but there is a lot of people who are sitting out there with between 10 to 5,000 YouTube subscribers that are struggling to make it a bit bigger. It's not that everyone who signs up a beauty vlogger channel will be Shan XO and have 1.5 million subs and be flown across the world and have a Porsche and that kind of stuff. It's not like that. And people will sometimes rag on Linus for being a sellout and having lots of subscribers and charging advertising fees to do stuff. But and while we think that's wrong, that you should, it's, I guess maybe it's that tall poppy syndrome in Australia that, if the guy's making money, that's great. That's the goal of a business, right? But, is there any advice that you give to these guys who are kind of stuck in the middle and the bottom ground and thinking about giving up? Because, we chatted a bit about some of your struggles before, and most tech YouTubers I've talked to have had all these similar struggles thinking about giving up before they can really push through to that, that 50K subscriber limit, I guess, would be when companies really start taking note.
Yeah, 50K is definitely a milestone. 100K is obviously the really good milestone, but there is that 10K struggle. Yeah, it's definitely there. For me, I didn't really notice it much because when I was at 10K, I was just doing it as, it was just to help people out. I just did videos what people requested. They want to see an overclocking tutorial. I just did an overclocking tutorial. They want to see this. I just did that. It was mainly just based off reaction. And I just loved doing it. It was just a bit of fun. Of course, I got paid from AdSense for doing it that time. But the critical point for me was when I went to America in 2015, just for a holiday, stayed at a friend's house in California. And she just told me, like we talked about YouTube a lot. And she just told me, like, look, what do you want to do? Like, do you want to do YouTube? Do you not want to do YouTube? I think it was like 40K subscribers at the time. And I just said, she just said, look, why don't you give it your all, Brian, And then if you're not happy at the end of that, because I was talking about giving up at that stage, it's like 40K, I'm like, okay, well, this is starting to get big, but people want me to put a lot more time into it, and I don't know if it's worth my time. Like, I was really struggled. She's like, why don't you just give this your all? Be you, make what you want to make on this channel. And that's when I started doing the used PCs. It really interested me. I was like, okay, can I get a three banged up PCs and actually make a PC build out of this? And I had a lot of fun doing it. And then people just loved it. And then from there, I just started pouring my passion into that because I love doing that. And it just started growing like heaps.
They're really racking in the views, aren't they? You know, these
Yeah,
secondhand ones, and that even surprised me. You know, I've been around for a
Yeah.
little bit and work with a lot of channels and stuff, and I was like, damn. And you know, you forget as someone who works for a company such as myself what you would have liked 10 years ago. You know, when 10 years ago when I was in high school working at KFC, I would have loved that video. You know.
Yeah. So well, it was a bit of like me just sort of giving it my all now instead of doing it as a little side thing. I was just like, okay, do I want to keep doing this or do I not want to keep doing this? And it happened at 40K subs, and I like the option was to give up there. There was definitely that option, but then there was the option of like, look, just give it your all, never stop, just don't stop, pour your heart and soul into it, and then if it doesn't go anywhere, quit.
Cool. So that
Like, as
means
long
when
as
when you get your 1 million subscriber plaque, you got to go send it to her. Then obviously it's not yours. It's
yeah,
hers.
well, actually, yeah, it was a big catalyst.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to say her name or anything, but she was involved with tech. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
cool.
there was a big catalyst for me at around 40K subscribers, and that was a huge point. And that for me was like, okay, if you want to quit, if you're thinking about giving up, don't do it until you've given it 100 and whatever, 55% or whatever. Just give it your all. Go all out. Be objective. Watch your videos objectively, third person perspective. You know, are you making mistakes? Get other people's feedback, honest feedback. Say, look, what don't you like about my video, brother? And try and just do your best to make your content. Make your best content, see how it goes from there.
Yeah.
And when you're doing that, you'll grow, you know? And so it's funny because I know a lot of these younger, smaller YouTubers too, and they're growing now. They're growing, they come to me for tips and stuff like that, and I just help them out, give them honest feedback, and they're doing well. So it's great to see that. We all want to flourish as a community. So
Yeah, a little bit of friendship goes a long way, right?
Oh, it
A
does,
lot of
man.
a lot of people in professional business will do paid consulting and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But a lot of stuff in tech is just sitting around the campfire having a couple of beers at the local pub and while you're at an event. And I guess it's that camaraderie that really keeps people together. And people always talk about that in the esports scene, but don't necessarily talk about that in the tech scene. You look at things like CS in Vegas, or you look at Computex in Taiwan and things like that, and people are really banding together and helping each other out. And it's a good and a bad thing that people bounce around a lot of companies. Someone will leave X peripheral company and come up at the other peripheral company, but it's really good in the fact that once you build some of these friends, they're likely going to be around there forever in these different companies.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's not to
Well,
say
sorry.
and sorry, and I mean it's not to say that you have to watch what you say every single time, and you can't share a meme on your Facebook, and you have to start bribing people beers and that kind of stuff. But it's really touching on that point to tell people that yes, while YouTube is hard, but the people you're working with understand what you're going through, and they have to go through the same kind of stuff. And they're not big CEOs in suits talking down to you. The Corsair CEO Andy Paul is a fantastic guy. And the CEO from Thermal Takers as well. Like Andy Paul from Corsair, he comes onto the booth at Computex and stands around and chats to people who walk in. And, a lot of people walk into the Corsair booth kind of aimlessly because they're a smaller channel and want to talk to people.
That was me. That was me last
exactly, yeah. And he'll walk up to them as a CEO of this gigantic multinational company and say, hey, name's Andy Paul. He won't be like, hi, I'm the CEO, don't talk to me, I'm wearing a suit and a tie. There's nothing wrong with wearing a suit, but he's standing around on the booth in a Corsair shirt talking to people about what he's been up to lately.
Well, he's got a passion for his business, you see, and that's what I think every successful endeavor, there's always passion there. So it's great to hear that.
Yeah, and there's and don't take that as there's nothing wrong with making money. And we've made a point to both of us to state there's nothing wrong with being big and making money. It's part of the world. It's how the world works. But you'll find in the tech scene that the people who make money and the people who don't, they're all nice the same, and they're all willing to help each other grow.
Very true. It's always, well, in my opinion now, it's always good. It's always net positive to be net positive. That's the way I say it, right?
Yeah, right.
So what good comes out of attacking someone else or being an asshole to someone else? You know, what there's no good that comes out of it. So you just be nice to the people behind the scenes, make friends, grow relationships, not just on the professional aspect, but the personal aspect. And that's what I'm all about. Like, I actually prefer the personal aspect anytime over the professional aspect. It's weird. That's how
Mm.
I've been growing up. You know what I mean? I've been growing up to have just trust and loyalty and love in ways, and that's just, it goes a long way.
Yeah,
I
the
guess
good old
down
Aussie
under,
way.
that's yeah, exactly, yeah, exactly right. I guess that's how we are down under, man. It's always you got your brothers back, got your friends back,
Exactly,
through
yeah.
thick and thin, yeah.
And it's great at events to be, when I was working at Thermaltake, to walk into a Fractal party and chat to the guy who owns the company that makes Steel Series Sensei mice and have a beer with him, and
Yeah.
because for all I know, in a year and a half, he could be my boss at the same company, or I could be working with him somewhere else or anything like that. But
Yeah.
wrapping this up a little bit, we can find you on Twitter at TechCityPC and myself at Smithy Mayo, and we do have our first ever user question that's come in.
Yeah.
And we've chatted a bit behind the scenes about this, and we're hoping that maybe in the future, if the big podcast does grow big as a podcast, we can have some live people call in and maybe answer some questions to people stuck, or people who just want to say hello. But we do have one here from a guy called at Tot Jup, and I do hope that was spelt properly, but he wanted to ask you, Brian, Mr. Tech Yes City, what is your favorite graphics card you have ever owned?
Ooh, that's a tricky one, hey, 'cause we're spanning back a few different eras here. I would say, it's going to sound weird, but it'd probably be the GTX 670 when I first got that, man. Because I came over from the AMD card, and it was true. There was stuttering and stuff back in the drivers in the AMD cards. And I was a big AMD user before the Kepler's cards were released. And so I got my 670, I overclocked it. And man, I was absolutely loving it, absolutely loving it. So
670, man. For me, it would be the Radeon 9550, which was my first ever graphics card. Like, it was an AGP 8 times 256 meg, and the reason that it's not necessarily the rose tinted glasses looking back at nostalgia. I'm so old. I used to play games when you weren't even born, which some people do on the internet because I don't need something to feel good about. But the point of the point of me saying that is that it was the first card that allowed me to play video games properly. Playing Battlefield 2 for way too many hours all of the time, and that kind of stuff, and picked up myself
the close second would be the X800, the back in the day. That was around Battlefield 1 time, I think, or Battlefield 1942, I think they called it. That was I love that card as well. That was awesome. So I mean, the blower star cooler was loud as, but you still had such a good time gaming on it. So
yeah, no, exactly. There's been lots of good releases over the years.
Yeah,
but
it has been, man.
No, it's been great to chat to you, Brian.
The 8800 as well.
The 8800 GT, that was a fantastic card that lasted for many years.
It was the World of Warcraft special, man. I remember getting one of those.
Oh boy.
Yeah, that was the World of Warcraft special at the time. It was amazing. So,
oh boy.
Then I went back to, what was it? I forgot now. I went back to the 50, after that, the 5850 or something. Yeah. So I juggled between AMD and video cards, but yeah, I was majority AMD cards that I used throughout the history of my gaming as my main. So,
and I mean, it helps to never have a bias, right? Would you
exactly.
agree?
It just helps to be objective. I mean, at the end of the day, what's best for you? Is being a fanboy going to be good for you, like your gaming experience? No. Just like, you know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, I just try to tell people which is the best for your money, or what's the best for this scenario, what's the best for that scenario. And if you're doing that, if you're in that scenario, then get that product, you know what I mean? Or make the decision for yourself. But being a fanboy of any product, whether it's Intel, Nvidia, or AMD, it's not going to help anyone.
Yeah.
It's and there's help,
there's nothing wrong with having a bit of allegiance, right? I mean, this podcast isn't sponsored. I drive a Subaru. Like, I kind of like the all-wheel drive and that kind of jazz. But I have friends who love Holdens. That's cool. That's fine. Girlfriend drives a Ford. I don't really care that much about Holden versus Ford arguments and that stuff. But people are allowed to like what they like, right? And that's why, we chatted about before, and you made a mention too of while you've got people like Steve who are amazing at giving the stats, and while you've got people like yourself who are good at presenting it in a really personable way, in the end, it's about telling your viewers that they're allowed to like what they like. And the reason the reason that you're taking on these sponsors are because you trust that they're going to provide you with stuff. For example, you mentioned ASRock. If they sponsored you, you'd be happy to take that sponsorship because you know it's not just the fact that, sure, they'll give you X amount of dollars or whatever, or they might send you to an event that you can get some extra coverage and subscribers, but you know that that company is going to provide you with products on release. That's a big thing. You know, you couldn't review a Ryzen CPU without getting a motherboard. You couldn't review a Ryzen CPU properly without getting a cooler from me. You couldn't do it without getting a graphics card to go with, right? So it's a lot deeper. And that's, once again, not to scare people, but to maybe take a step back and think about it. You know, this is a legitimate business. You're pouring your heart and soul into this full time. And, you know, by making nasty comments on the internet, like, you're not being a cool dude. Like, you're actually criticizing something that someone's pouring their heart and soul into doing full time and really want to make succeed, because it's not just the fact that you want to be a cool dude with 3 million subs. It's also a fact that it's how you pay the rent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's true. Very true at the end of the day. So,
yeah, man, bringing it down on a somber note, but if people want to find you online, how do they do that besides rocking up to your doorstep with a gun and demanding GTX 1080 Ti's?
Well, besides rocking up with a gun, guys, you know, not really used to that kind of thing. But yeah, if you want to check us out, you can go to, of course, Tech City on YouTube at the moment, or Tech City PC on Twitter. Or, of course, the Tech City Facebook page. Just type in Tech City and search for it. It should come up. So, I'm on Instagram as well, Tech Yes City. I'm going to keep that just original. Perfect. Instagram still Tech Yes City. So, yeah, there's a few different ways you can find us. Of course, you can just go on the YouTube comment section. If you get in early, I do check most videos a day after I release them. Just go through the comment section quickly. So, or you send us a personal message. So, either way, always, if you want to get a hold of me, you can. So, definitely do that, and I'll help you out.
Always contactable. Sounds great. All right, mate. Thanks for having us on, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Well, thanks for having me on your show, man.
No problem.
So, yeah. All right, brother. I'll catch you later.
Yep. Sounds good. See ya. Hey, and thanks for listening. This has been podcast 001 of the Business in Games podcast. My name is Chris, and I've been your host for today. You can catch me on Twitter at SmithyMayo, and also on Facebook.com/SmithyMayo. Tune in next time. We'll be chatting to some various other people within the gaming and esports and business scene. And I just have to make a quick mention that this podcast was supported by a Facebook group called the Oceania Esports and Gaming Business Group. Make sure you head in there if you want to chat to anything about what was in this podcast, ask any advice of any of the hundreds of members, or just share maybe a little bit of a win that you've had in esports. Thanks, and bye for now.